Hello, Blenders, and welcome to episode number 275 of ReelBlend, the podcast that will always be the shake to Christopher Nolan's bake. My name is Sean O'Connell. I'm the managing editor here at Cinema Blend and a co-host of the ReelBlend podcast. On this week's show, I'll give Kevin a few minutes to figure that one out. Blue Beetle is hitting theaters, and we're going to have our review because one of us has seen it. We are going to have a 2023 fall movie preview, looking at what's still to come and discussing what things are going to hold and maybe potentially shift. And finally, the directors behind Talk to Me are going to join us this week for a chat about their hit horror flick. And I will tease that as part of that conversation, they told me a little bit more about their plans for a sequel, which since has been announced. And if it's not called Talk Number 2,
they already announced it. It is.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, Talk to Me.
Oh, that's incredible. Joining us.
So hang on. The trilogy Talk to 3.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
Done. Game over.
Pretty good. It's pretty great. Is Kevin McCarthy of Fox 5 in Washington, D.C. Kevin, have you figured that joke out yet or not?
No, I have not. I've been swirling the bacon shake in my mind. I don't get it.
To be fair, it's maybe a headline that just came out that maybe you haven't seen.
I was going to say, is this topical? Is this a new?
Yeah, this is
very topical.
Yeah.
So Nolan said in an interview that one of his favorite comedies of all time is Talladega Nights.
Okay.
That's right.
And that when he's channel surfing, if he sees Talladega Nights, he literally can't.
I assumed it was a Talladega Nights reference, but I didn't know it was a topical
Shake and bake
Talladega Nights reference.
I've only seen Talladega Nights once. I've only seen it once.
That's enough.
Yeah, but I was just about to say you're good, really.
Yeah.
Now that we know that Nolan loves it, though, I feel like Kevin's gonna
like an Anchorman or an old school or one of those that have like repeat value.
I picture Kevin tonight re-racking and watching Talladega Nights and just a single tear rolling down his cheek and just going, "It's beautiful." It's beautiful.
I mean, Nolan's also a big Fast and Furious fan, so he's right there on my side, baby.
So he just has a thing for bad car movies.
He's just a big car guy.
He's like, dude, where's my car? It's one of my favorite movies of all time, The Kutch. Sean William Scott, The Kutch.
Hey, that movie probably had a lot of practical effects in it. It was made in the 90s.
Very true.
It let it in-camera effects. They did the driving for real with no CGI.
So I got to listen to last week's episode as a humble listener, and it was very fun. First off, Gabe Kovac in the producer's chair. Tremendous job as host. Way to go, Gabe.
He's brilliant.
Thank you.
He did outstanding. And it did remind me of that one time that Jake tried to do it. And Kevin has never done it, I want to point out, which I think once Kevin should at least try it. Everyone should get a chance in the chair.
We could try it if he wants to. I think what happened is the Jake thing went down so poorly that I was like, I won't make either of them do it. I think it was just, I was like, I wouldn't put that on. I wouldn't take it off of
going that badly though.
No, the episode went fine. Jake responded to the backlash of people, I think, sort of arbitrarily calling.
Let me tell you, Jake, you have to take these comments in stride because someone wrote underneath last week's episode, the perfect trio, Jake, Kevin, and Gabe.
Mommy?
Yeah, Kevin's mom.
Legit question. Do you guys read? I mean, I'm not saying this as a knock one way or the other. Do you guys go read the? I feel like I've learned in the years doing this to try not to read the comments.
I try to because I do like interacting with people who go down there to weigh in on things that we're doing on the show. So yeah, I like to, especially because we try to do like call outs and get people to contribute down there.
Our comments are typically very positive or just like they're not negative about us too much or too often. It's more about negative movie stuff or like things like that. Like we have and that's why I'm always pushing for it. Like push our. They're
like Kevin is too handsome. That's he's just too handsome.
Yeah, every week.
The comments about my looks.
Yeah, I'm just too handsome.
Tone it down, Kev.
I need people to stop telling me how good looking I am. It's very upsetting.
It'll never happen.
I will tell you, Peter Berg just remembered what you wore to the last interview. So that was a little unnerving. He was like, hey, you wore a tie last time I spoke to you. And I was
twice.
Like, oh, what the heck? So speaking of the comments, that's why you should go to YouTube to first off, watch the video version of the show. And we always love seeing pictures of the, yes. Oh, what, did I not introduce Kevin?
You need to introduce Jake.
Oh, shit. Hey.
Do I really?
The man that needs no introduction, apparently. Doesn't get one.
Jake Hamilton of Fox 32 in Chicago. Hi, Jakey. How are you?
That is one of my favorite Oscar jokes ever. I think Steve Martin was the host, and he was on stage, and he said, "Our next guest needs no introduction," and then just walked off the stage, and it was Meryl Streep.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Oh, do you know what show I don't watch? Not to derail. I don't watch Only Murders in the Building, and I know Meryl Streep is going to be on it this week.
Yeah, I watched the first season and really liked it, and I don't know why I didn't keep going. It was just one of those shows that, like, when the second season came out, I sort of said, okay, I'll get around to it, and then just never did.
Okay. I'm going to give that a shot.
It sounds like Jake had a very Martin short stay with that show.
Dang.
Let it simmer.
There we go.
Thank you.
Please head down and give us a like and a subscribe on our YouTube channel.
You're going to ask for a like after that?
Yes. For our audio listeners, if you'd like to join us in video form, go to youtube.com/ReelBlend Podcast. There is also a ReelBlend Premium. If you would like to get an ad-free version of the podcast and a newsletter from usually me, sometimes Gabe. Gabe, good newsletter as well this week, too, on movie subscriptions. That was excellent.
Thank you.
Had a fun read. Check the description for information on where you guys can sign up. So I mentioned we're going to do a fall movie preview. That's going to come a little bit later in the show because first we got a chance to interview Danny and Michael. Oh, boy. Don't make me do this. Philipou? All right, that's easy enough. Danny and Michael Philipou, who are super high energy dudes who are just really fun to talk to. They're the directors of Talk to Me. And as mentioned, since we spoke about that, actually it was either the day we spoke or the day right after that the confirmation was that they're going to get a chance to direct the sequel, Talk to Me. And so
they're fans of the show, apparently. And Sean, in this interview, did they talk to you?
They did talk to me.
Well, I wanted to say this.
I just want to point out, they were fans of the show. Yeah. They came on my show in Chicago and didn't say shit about being fans of ReelBlend. And this is why I don't read the comment section.
No, when Sean introduced himself, you'll hear in the interview, but to tell you too, because you haven't heard it yet. Sean introduced the show and they go, "Oh, we know, we recognize the voice. Like we listened to the show." It was very, very humbling.
Pays to be the host, baby. Pays to be the guy in the chair.
Well, these are the guys who commented under one of the episodes where it was Gabe, Sean, and Jake, or Gabe, Sean, and myself, and Jake wasn't there, so they thought it was the perfect trio when it was Kevin, Sean, and Gabe. That's why they didn't say anything to you, Jake. I mean, come on.
In the meantime,
go ahead.
Here's Danny and Michael Philipou talking about their new horror film, which you guys need to go see. And I know it's holding up really well at the box office.
I've seen.
People are definitely checking it out. No, not you guys, the listeners. I'm saying go see Talk to Me and listen to this interview with Danny and Michael first.
With spoilers. I don't know if you said that.
With spoilers, yes. Spoilers, because the movie's been out for a while, but spoilers. Okay, guys, I'm Sean O'Connell. I'm with the ReelBlend Podcast. Good to be with you.
Oh my gosh, I know the voice because I listen to the podcast.
Do you really? That's insane. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's so cool. It's an honor. Yeah. How cool.
Well, we're thrilled to have you on. And you might know this. We're a filmmaker podcast. We like to dive deep into the making of process and just sort of, ask technical questions, but also some big picture questions. And I got to tell you guys, I went back and rewatched your Sundance video on your YouTube channel in preparation for this. And I just cried through the whole thing. I was so proud for you two, like I knew you. Like I was more proud for you guys than I was for like friends and family members. The ride was amazing. But so now months later, we get to this opening weekend and you guys do $10 million in your opening weekend and you're on the charts with these massive franchise pictures with your movie. What does that mean to you guys? How did that feel? What did you guys do over opening weekend?
It was the first time that opening weekend, I was editing. Yeah.
Sexy. So sexy.
Yeah. We spent Sundance all crying, but I did have a good cry on opening weekend as well, because it just seems, but also not even just the box office thing, just the fact that it's out is so exciting to me. And it's just being embraced the way it is, like seeing people's like fan art and the fan art is so incredible. And, like, reviews have been so awesome. It's like like completely surreal experience. And I don't think it's like, I haven't been hit with the reality of it yet. It doesn't feel like, because we've been in this whirlwind of the, since January, like promo of the film and stuff. Now that it's out, it's strange. Yeah. It was so fun to shoot that video and try and capture it. It was so odd to have all of us, all the crew and cast there and experience that together. Yeah, because we had no idea what happened was going to happen. Yeah. We were just so happy to be at Sundance. It was so incredible. It was amazing. And yeah, I like that we captured some of it on film.
What is the piece of fan art? What's showing up most in the fan art? A character or a moment?
There's all interpretation of the hand.
Yeah, people's artists' interpretation of the hand, the characters, like Mia with the hand with just like I don't know.
It's just hands and Mia mostly.
Yeah, different styles. There's some of Otis with Daniel.
Yeah.
Yes, Riley. Like there's some really, really cool stuff.
It's incredible.
It's like really bad at drawing. Like seeing people that are really good at it do like on your film is amazing.
That's so cool. All right, so we can get into specifics because this is a podcast we'll hide behind spoilers, and I want to talk to you guys about your process. We got a chance to interview Damien Chazelle one time, and he mentioned something that was so eye-opening because it seems so obvious, which that every movie, when you sit down to watch it, can be Citizen Kane. It could be the most perfect film ever, but you don't know until that opening scene. So there's so much weight on how you open a movie to sort of set the stage for what's coming. And you guys have one of the most incredible openings that I've seen in a really long time, because immediately with the death of Duckett, we're like, oh shit, this is going to be an incredible ride. Was that always how you guys opened the film, with the party and with that story, or did that sort of come around later on in the process?
Yeah, it came around later in the script. I just knew that we really tried to capture the parties and the fun of the hand dwindle and get less and less with each sequence. And, each party gets more smaller and sadder. So we knew we wanted to have a big party, and we needed to create something that pulled the audience into our world. So we're on the outside at the start, and then we're dragged into this world and can see the effects of this thing and where it can lead. So it came later on in the process. And
it was the first shot of the film, but it was the last shot of the shoot. It was the very last scene that we filmed.
We had to build up to it.
We had everyone had to be working together for it. And we had 10 doors. And thank God we got it on the 10th take at like 4:30 in the morning.
Did you really?
Yeah. It was because we thought we had it on the 9th. And then we looked back on it. We're like, it's too slow.
It's too slow.
Please, Sam, one more. The producer, please, one more. And then we got one more. And then everyone nailed it, because you're kind of molding it. Each take, you're kind of molding it. It's getting better each time. But there's one, because there's so much happening. One thing doesn't work. One other one doesn't work. When it actually, when we actually got it in the bag, you see that fake party turn into a real one. Like everyone just fucking rushed into the middle of the show.
Yeah. I started celebrating with everyone. And
I know the neighbors are in their houses probably going,
the person I felt the most sorry for was Ari, who plays Cole, because he had to shoulder down 10 doors for real.
Guys didn't make it easy on him. You're supposed to have like breakaway doors.
No, they were.
Oh.
Yeah, so we had it like made so he could hit it for real as hard as he can for the first couple, and then we had it rigged to kind of break away for him. But there was one where he started like boxing the door.
He started punching the door.
And we're like, look, it's great. I don't know if it's the wrong film. Like, he's not like ripping the door, like and punching it.
Yeah, but he was getting sore because it still was very physical. But yeah, he nailed it.
All right, so I wanted to ask you guys this: when Riley looks up and sees the ghost that's sitting across from him, does he recognize that person as Mia's mother? Is he familiar with Mia's mother, or is he just freaked out because it's a ghost?
It's one of those questions. Like I feel like with all the interviews that I've over-explained things, so I really like some things to be left up for people to interpret and that's the funnest thing to me, is reading a bunch of these forums and people trying to decode the ending and stuff. And there's so many hints and clues and there's answers, and some people have guessed it and some are still trying to figure it out. And that part's really exciting to me. So I want to try and not explain that part, if that's okay.
All right. No, that's totally fine. Is Riley named Riley as a tribute to Riley Reid?
No, Riley's named after my neighbor Riley, who lives next door to us. And James, his best friend James, we cast in the movie as James.
Yeah. There was a character written based on James, and James played James.
Yeah.
He's not even an actor, and he's just such a natural performer.
We auditioned a bunch of actors, but he just played himself perfectly. And I was like, oh my God, you're so good, James. He's like, you're just saying that. I'm like, no, dude, you're really, you're funny, and I buy that you're you.
So talk about not wanting to explain too much. I know you guys have mentioned the fact that a sequel would be possible. But one of the things that I'm wondering if you would want to see explored is the origin of the hand. Is that something that you would want to give more details about? I know you've said you have like a thick Bible that probably has a lot of the answers that fans are looking for, but is that something you'd like to maybe sit on because the mystery adds more allure to the premise?
I think that we would expand on the mythology a little bit in the sequel, but who knows? Actually, maybe. It's so weird because I've started writing scenes for a sequel when I was writing the first film. And naturally, once you start writing, you can't stop and you get excited about what happens after this. So what is this? So what is this?
You get after every screaming.
Yeah.
Like every screaming. Everyone will talk to me.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I just felt like I won't know until I do it, but I am so open to expanding the mythology and explaining some of it. But also, leaving the allure of mystery is also exciting. So I don't know what middle ground I'll end up finding, but yeah, we'll find it.
So what is the writing process for you? Do you sort of hole away someplace and start to stitch ideas together? Or are you really collaborative? Like once you've written something, you bring it over and say, like, how can we sort of work this in?
So I've got this amazing co-writer called Bill Hinsman. And I know when I'm writing my initial pages, I need to get into the headspace of something. I can't just sit down and write. It takes me a couple of days where I have to watch a whole bunch of stuff and be up all night and not be awake during the day, go for walks at 4 a.m., try to scare myself.
He's a freak.
Yeah, I like sort of roam the neighborhood in my headphones. And I just get to like a weird fractured headspace. And then I like talk to myself and I sound nuts, but I'll just have conversations and talk through scenes and, sort of live in that headspace. And then it just sort of explodes out. And suddenly it just really it sits in you for a second, and then you just start writing and then it just explodes. I don't know. And then, yeah.
I was going to say, like, it's like a build up of ideas and moments, even like dialogue exchanges and things. And like, you let it build up in your head, and then when you start writing, it can just explode.
And then straight away, even when I only have like 10 pages, I never go back and check. I will just write set pieces. Oh, man, kiss his dog. And then, things like, and then I will send these pages to my co-writer, and then, the collaboration starts there. But it's a weird thing where I just have to be in the headspace for it. So I've been trying to write, while this year, but there's been so much going on that I haven't been able to really get into that space.
I can understand that much. Obviously, you guys have been filming stuff your entire lives, but you only get one sort of first feature to really get a crack of how to do it. What's a lesson that you guys learned shooting Talk to Me that is going to help you with whatever you guys do next?
The music, having the music part of the process earlier. We care so much, or I do especially, about sound design and music, like even just notes and things like that. And I can't even describe it like, it's a D minor, E, whatever, to the composer. I just have this sound in my head, and like, it's trying to communicate that. The music we had happen at the end, and it was a very difficult process. We found the sound in the end, but it wasn't hard. It was very hard, sorry. I want to have that process start earlier and be ingrained in the bones of the script. Like, I want to be right now, I'm writing scenes and then sending it to a composer, and he's writing music, and we're trying to find sounds like conceptually early, which is so exciting to me. And I remember when I was speaking to Cornell, who did the score, about that. He's like, that would inspire me the most. I love that kind of conceptual stage. Like, I never get to do it. So,
but even we were editing while we were on set as well, and our editor had started editing too. So even having the composer writing music while we're in that process, it's so bring it in earlier.
Like, we would do like some days, because it was such a short shoot, we would be on set all day, then go home, edit all night, no sleep, go back to set, and then shoot again. Like, if we're going to have to bump out of locations. And
yeah.
What's got to be really tough, because you guys have done so much stuff on YouTube, is when you put something up on YouTube, you get an instant reaction. Like, how it's doing right off the bat. Is it tough when you have a film like this to sit on it and wait for people to see it? Because you were saying how excited you were to get it into theaters finally. What's that challenge like?
Well, I know that it feels there's this thing where with YouTube, you just edit it and you put it out. Obviously, we put a lot of time in, but with the film stuff, it goes through a lot of finessing and perfecting, and even subtle things of color and music and sound that it just, you screen it for some people. Like, the first person that ever saw the film was our editor's son, because the editor had his edit studio under his house, and his son, they were just living upstairs. I'm like, hey, can you come and watch this? And then you just gauge the reaction. And when people are you can sort of feel maybe when people are getting bored or disconnecting. And so that was a little bit valuable. And then, it is difficult not knowing exactly. And you go in, like when we went to Sundance, we were horrified. And,
because it was the first time where we were going to get like a Rotten Tomatoes score. There was going to be critics, like real critics watching it. Like, our whole lives was YouTube, and like, we always like watch films and we look at the Rotten Tomatoes, we look at reviews, we look at like that stuff. So the idea of that being judged on our film was terrifying.
Yeah.
And then they said, the A24 is going to be there. Arias is going to be there. All these distributors are going to be there. And we're just like, is there going to be any fans? Like,
is there any
audience? Drunk horror fan. Give me a drunk horror fan that just wants to watch a horror movie.
But we're just cringing the whole time. And then I went up to apologize to Ari after the screen for him getting dragged there.
Yeah, it's like uploading to YouTube and then like getting nothing, no response. And then you don't know, it's happening. You don't know how it's being received. And then
I don't know. The audience was pretty damn vocal.
Yeah, but in my head they weren't.
In our head, we're still cringing. Yeah.
You guys have to know, though, over the years that there's movies that you love that have terrible Rotten Tomatoes scores, though. It doesn't always matter.
100%. Yeah. But it still stings me. When I see it stings me. Because it's your personal art. And then it's the first time that we've read something where it's like, they don't know what they're doing. Terrible. And you're like,
I'm a fraud. What have I done?
I knew I couldn't have done it. Yeah.
I want to know about continuity. There's writing all over the hand, and I've definitely used multiple hands. Is it different writing across all the different hands?
No, that's the crazy thing is that we only used one hand.
For real?
6 hands were made up, but only one of them got used.
No kidding. Why?
Well, and it didn't get damaged. It didn't,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The guy that delivered the hand, that was doing the finishing touches on the hand, something spooked him out the night before, and then when he delivered it, he quit. And when you're on set, there's so much happening on a film set, you're just like, oh, okay, that's weird. Now this is happening, And so, but that hand had a weight about it. Like, so everyone's like,
and there was like a bit of a joke on set. No one was touching it.
Yeah,
You
just want to go through them, especially with we have ADHD. Like we knock things over. Like we're just crazy. So I thought that we would have destroyed it, but
there were 6 hands made, and only one of them was used.
Exactly the same writing on all of them.
That's incredible.
But then only one got used.
All right, so this morning, Christopher Landon, a very talented filmmaker, has announced that he's going to be directing Scream 7 and joining that franchise. I'm curious if there's a famous horror franchise that if you guys could step in to direct one, what would you tackle?
I'd be too intimidated. I'd be too scared. I would not want to do it. I'd be like afraid I was going to screw it up, afraid of alienating that fan base that I was a part of. I do not have the guts.
That's fascinating.
I would avoid a horror franchise and everything. I don't know if studio is going to hear this. And but I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, but we are signed on to develop Street Fighter, which is a different.
He said a horror franchise.
Okay, but it's still a franchise.
But there's no strong foundation film that you're like, oh my god, there's an animated film.
You talk about Van Damme's fucking.
Oh no, but it's not this. When I think of The Exorcist, I'm so excited to see the films. I am, but I'd be too intimidated by the task. Yeah. I'm too much of a coward. I'm a coward.
All right, take a breath.
Fraud and a coward.
You saw that, Ron.
Sean, I'm a fraud.
I'll get you guys out of here on this one. Please tell me that there are outtakes of Ronald McDonald with the hand.
There is no such. He's on vacation.
That's the sequel.
That'll be the sequel.
It's a missed opportunity, guys. I really appreciate getting the time to talk to you. Congratulations on the film. It's fantastic.
So that's it. And keep up the podcast. It's so fun to listen to.
Yeah, we're just
brother.
The live goal here.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Obviously, we want to thank both Danny and Michael for coming on the show and for listening to the show. We love you guys. We cannot wait to see what you guys do with Talk to Me Part 2, because this one's incredible. And I can only... well, let me ask you guys before we move off to this. I want to thank A24 for getting them on the show as well, too. Jake, you've seen it. Kevin hasn't had a chance to see it yet.
I've seen it twice.
Jake, do you want to see a sequel that is a continuation of the story that took place in Talk to Me, like using the characters that were part of it? Or would you like to see it transition to like a whole nother area that maybe involves the hand and like maybe a prequel of the hand or...
I was thinking about this. I think I'd like to see it go with a new cast of characters, but also maybe a little Godfather 2-esque. Like, give me a little bit of something that happens in the future, but it also maybe flash back to the past. But here's the thing. I don't think I ever truly want to know what the story behind the hand is. Right. I sort of like obviously they're going to flesh it out a little bit more, but sort of the kind of like the Joker's scars. Like, I don't ever truly really want to know where they came from. I kind of like this possibility of every generation that passes it down hears that it came from somewhere else. So I just think they've got to be very careful about not ruining the mystique and the mystery behind this singular object. So I just hope that they don't over explain it to the point of ruining the mystery.
Yeah, every horror franchise I feel walks that line, and they're all super interesting until you start to figure out the truth.
Sure.
There's a new DC movie hitting theaters, and it's called Blue Beetle. And Jake is the only one of us who have seen it. I don't think that they press screened it.
They didn't
in the field, because Jake, you got a chance to interview the director.
Only if you were interviewing. Yeah.
So to clarify from my perspective, in the DC area, they are screening it. Yeah, well, so the screening was last night. I couldn't make it. I'm paying to see it on Thursday at 7. But there were options for screenings in my market.
Okay, so I heard the initial wave of things that I was hearing was not positive, and then the embargo lifted, and people seemed to really like it. So let's find out where Jake Hamilton falls on the scale of Blue Beetle.
This sounds like The Flash all over again.
It's a very mixed bag for me, but leaning negative. I really did not love this movie. There are some very admirable things about it, particularly that it really focuses on a culture and a community that hasn't really been represented within the superhero genre, which is fantastic, and it really focuses on the family aspect of the superhero in a way that really hasn't been done. And I think that's
like
really
Shazam,
cool.
Or no?
Kind of, but in a way that doesn't quite work as well for me as the kids in Shazam do. That's an interesting comparison. Shazam, I think that there are a lot of sort of constants and through lines. But even when it comes to aspects of the family and the culture, I think one of my biggest knocks of this movie is that it just feels like a sampler platter of a lot of superhero movies that have done all the things it's ripping off better.
Okay.
I like sampler platters.
They can be great as long as they're not taken from another restaurant and you have to sit there and they feel stale because you had to wait for them to be brought over from somewhere else.
Way to keep the analogy going there, Jake. That was fantastic.
But are the buffalo wings are the bones in or bones out? I just need to know. That's the most important part.
Look, I don't want to cause divide, man. Like
there are no boneless wings, Kevin. We know this.
There are chicken nuggets.
There are chicken nuggets.
I've heard that it's Iron Man-esque and Spider-Man.
Well, here's the thing: I feel like when it comes to we're back sort of at that issue with origin stories where it really starts to feel like there are only like 2 or 3 different ways to tell origin stories. Like it felt very like paint by numbers origin stories, and the script the opening scene is Susan Sarandon who plays a villain and just feels like she's just kind of just like taking a paycheck, quite honestly. Some of the line deliveries are just pretty painful. And it just feels like very 2003 superhero origin story. Like this would have come out sometime between Ben Affleck's Daredevil and Elektra. It just feels kind of very like generic origin story. And for every moment that I thought, okay, I appreciate what you did there. I see that. There were 3, 4, 5 moments that just felt like, oh, that feels like Iron Man. That feels like Black Panther. That feels like Spider-Man, but not as good as any of those. Even, one of the film's most powerful moments, a moment that should have hit me in the heart like a sledgehammer. All I could think was, did you guys just straight up rip that from Black Panther? Like that really feels like you guys just said, remember when they did that in Black Panther? Wasn't that really cool? What if we did that too? Like it just really, so
they fight at a waterfall.
I'm not saying anything, but all I'm going to say is that, look, if this is part of a next step for DC, we talk about leaving these films being excited to see them again and see what their contribution is. I genuinely couldn't care less as to what the future of this character and how he's going to play a bigger part in DC. I think a lot of the cast seems to be having a good time, and you want to see these movies to do well because that's good news for everybody. But this movie just didn't work for me.
I mean, it's caught in this weirdo limbo that The Flash itself is kind of caught in, that we're going to talk about Aquaman.
But it shouldn't matter. Like whether or not a movie is a part of a bigger plan should not affect your ability to be able to sit in a movie theater and enjoy it for 2 hours. And I got to be within 60 minutes, I was ready for the thing to be over.
Jake, I have a question. I saw, again, I haven't seen it and I don't really know much about the film outside of just the basic plot. I saw stories that there's connections to Man of Steel, and I'm just interested in knowing does that mean it's part of that world?
Well, I don't know. So
how obvious is this?
I talked to the director because they talk about the fact that he went to pre-law school, and one of the sweaters, he wears a sweater in the movie that says that he went to Gotham pre-law. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I asked him was, if that's the case, who is his Batman? Like if he lived in Gotham, inevitably he would have, for 4 years, inevitably he would have seen Batman.
You sneaky snake, Jake.
And he wouldn't answer the question. He wouldn't answer the question.
Snake.
Sorry, Jake.
He wouldn't answer the question?
He wouldn't answer the question, which I feel like answering who his Batman is answers what his connection to Man of Steel would be. And he wouldn't answer the question, presumably because there's this big giant question mark over the whole thing. There are references to other things in DC. There's that line in the trailer where George Lopez calls Batman a fascist. So like it is sort of rooted in, but I just think it's a really, really weak movie.
Kev, I think he was rattled by Jake's question.
But before we move on, in general though, like with this movie coming out, obviously it's taking over the IMAX screens. So Oppenheimer's clearly been in IMAX, since July 21st. So I'm very curious how Blue Beetle's going to do. To Jake's point, though, Jake, see, I trust Jake because I've known Jake since 2010. The internet buzz around this movie reminds me of The Flash, because like when the Flash,
it's way better than The Flash. I will say that. Yeah,
that's great to hear. That because Jake and I didn't love The Flash. Great. But see, what's but the
Flash came out this year?
Yeah.
The point that I'm making though is that, do you guys remember before The Flash came out in theaters, the internet buzz on Flash was that it was the greatest superhero movie ever. James Gunn came out and said all these incredible comments.
This is the opposite.
Well, I think with Blue Beetle, though, to Jake's point and to your point, all the buzz I've been seeing has been insanely positive. And so I just start to question now, like, again, not that I don't question social media in general, but it's just funny to me how, like, I thought Jake was going to come on here and give it a great review. I thought he assumed he would have loved it based on what I've been reading.
I feel like it's the sort of thing we've been talking about for the last several movies in this movie universe, but every movie relies so heavy in these superhero franchises on the momentum of the franchise. And DC and Marvel, for that matter, like just don't feel like they have any momentum. And it feels like every domino that comes out, like DC at least has the benefit of their restarting. And I think once they get to that, once they get to James Gunn's Superman, people will be like, what do you have to offer for me? Mm-hmm. But these days, I think everyone just goes in with, well, if I wasn't excited about the last one, I'm not excited about this one, unless someone tells me that it's a movie, it's a life-changing event to go see. And they aren't. So I think all of these, we'll get to Aquaman later, are going to which Aquaman I guess is a little different because the first one did so well. So there's
$1 billion.
There's that X factor. But I'm curious to your point about how well it's going to do taking over the IMAX screens. Even it just feels like, to me, anytime I talk to anyone who's not connected to the movie industry, their interest is just like, I'll wait and see. Like they don't feel like they need to see it. And I think in today's business, you have to feel like you need to go see it.
I think if it does well or has legs and is able to maintain sort of minimal week-to-week drop-offs, to me, that is going to be clear, solid proof that Mission Impossible should have opened up in August.
Yeah.
Because if Blue Beetle comes in and is just able to, not saying it's the only thing it would have going for it, but potentially coast on the fact that Barbenheimer's dying down and there's really not much else out there. To me, it basically says, look what on the day when they've just announced that Mission Impossible is set to lose $100 million from the theatrical run. I mean, it basically just says,
it basically had until November. It basically had until November until it needed to worry about competition.
And I was wondering this today because I think Blue Beetle takes IMAX this weekend, and then I think Gran Turismo takes over IMAX the following weekend. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
And so what I find interesting about that is if those films don't do well, and because right now the want for Oppenheimer and IMAX is still a huge thing. I went this past Saturday and it was at 11 a.m. It was 6, and it was completely crowded at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I just wonder, like, you know, what's going to happen with that? Like, do you think Universal re-releases Oppenheimer and IMAX later in the year to award season? But the problem with that is then you have Flower Moons coming to IMAX. You have Dune 2 coming to IMAX. I'm assuming Aquaman.
There's really
like,
only
Marvels?
2 weekends that don't have IMAX releases. There's 2.
Which ones?
One is like December 1st. And then I think there's one in like October.
Wow.
Because I was looking at the IMAX schedule between now and the end of the year.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day,
Wonka's got IMAX. You guys excited for that?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
IMAX.
but there's no
Wonka.
Wonka. There's no denying what Oppenheimer's bringing to IMAX, and that's kind of an interesting thing right now. And I'm just curious if IMAX is going to step back and go, "Hey, I mean, that movie's bringing in all these people. These movies aren't." Like,
Right. If there's like auditoriums of empty Blue Beetle screenings, essentially.
that's what I'm saying. Or like, is Gran Turismo going to make a lot of money in IMAX? I mean, I don't know that.
You know what Gran Turismo needs for real? Gran Turismo needs a 40X. I think it does have a 40X,
cool.
but it
cool.
really needs one. So we'll see what happens. Well, speaking of that, looking ahead to the future, we're going to do a fall 2023 movie preview and run through the big titles and talk about our anticipation for them. Starting with, so I'm going to read off each title and then we're going to quick give you a reaction to what we think it's going to be. Starting in September 15th with Kenneth Branagh's A Haunting in Venice. And this is his Hercule Poirot adaptations of the Agatha Christie's. Yet what I find strange about this is not going after one of the more popular after doing, Murder on the Orient Express and then doing Death on the Nile. And there are several other Christie books that you would think would deserve or warrant an adaptation versus going after this supernatural angle. So that has me less interested in this for that reason. Yes, Gabriel.
Have you? I asked because I didn't see the trailer for this until recently. Have you seen the trailer for this one yet?
Yeah, I did when it first dropped.
The trailer
Feels like it was a while ago.
Well, the trailer is cut like a legit horror movie. Like it's cut like a scary, which I think to your point about why not go for another title, I think maybe they were going for something that felt so different. And I could understand given the first two were similar, I think, in tone. Like I'm into Branagh being like, let me play with this character and these stories in a completely different setting to keep people interested. And I think probably Glass Onion was like a good nudge in that direction for a franchise like this. It has me more excited is what I'll say, because it looks so different. The second one I liked, the first one I really loved. And so
does this one have an all-star ensemble like the other two do?
Yeah.
This one,
it's the weakest of the ensembles.
This one has Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Dornan, obviously Kenneth Branagh, Tina Fey, Amy Laird. Trying to think of any other big names that do you guys know who Kelly Riley is?
Kelly Riley, yeah. She's in Yellowstone. She's in Yellowstone.
Yeah. You've seen her face. Like she's been in a ton of things. But it's funny because like I love all the actors who are in this, but Jake's right. Like the if you look at the cast of Murder on the Orient Express compared to this, I mean the names definitely aren't as huge.
Interesting.
For sure.
But I do think that the rebranding of it as a horror film is really smart, because I've had people ask me about this movie as like this new horror movie coming out without even realizing that it's the third film in a trilogy.
When I walked into AMC the other day, there was a huge billboard for it. And the first thing that hit my mind was, wait, there's a new like horror movie. I thought it was something. I thought it was like a Mike Flanagan. I thought it was a Mike Flanagan thing. It looked like the poster art, and then it took me a second to realize, wait, that's Kenneth Branagh's third film.
I'm curious how much they're going into that versus how much that's a really great idea for the marketing. You know what I mean? Like we're in the middle of, this is the franchise that they've set up, and then look how stark and different the trailer is. Like, where in the middle does it lie? Or is it going to feel cheap if I go in and it's like, well, it wasn't really scary and it felt like it had a couple sort of frightful things, but it wasn't like a horror movie. I think they're selling a horror movie, as to your point about what everyone's,
which could be a problem. Yeah. Cause like if you go in
or a huge win, like look at how well horror movies are doing, like could be an incredible decision.
No, I was saying if they market it one way and then you walk in and it's not that could be, you might have a big opening weekend and then fall off.
So Gareth Edwards was at San Diego Comic-Con this past July and preaching that people need to get out to the theaters to support original storytelling. And then he's backing it up with September 29th. He has a movie coming out, a science fiction film called The Creator, and has John David Washington in it. It does look really incredible. And what I want to point out with this one in particular, if people forget what Gareth Edwards has done up until this point, he's a director who did Rogue One, which a lot of people argue is still one of the best of the new Spider-Man, Star Wars movies. And this is him returning to science fiction. If you haven't yet seen the trailer, go check it out. It really looks like terrific production design, really great sci-fi elements. JK, how you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of earned to me my loyalty to see whatever he makes. I'll go see it, and I agree. It looks fresh, it looks original, and John David Washington, I want to see him continue to make choices like this and see what he can do. And so yeah, I'm in.
Terrific meme with Alden Ehrenreich is a shot of him from the end of Oppenheimer, and he says, what if in fact that hot sauce was not the one you ordered?
Dude,
so that was great.
That might be that John David Washington improvise. I always wanted to ask Nolan about this because
I feel like did we talk about that in our interview, the hot sauce line?
I think
when we got him later for Malcolm and Marie,
we brought it back up.
Yeah. All right. October 20th, up and comer named Marty Scorsese is going to return to theaters with two other up and comers, Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, for a movie that I almost bought the book in the airport because it sounded really interesting. Killers of the Flower Moon. And this is about, so apparently the Osage County in, I think it's Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Yep.
They discovered oil underneath this land.
So basically, at a time where Native Americans were being displaced in America, the American government basically, in trying to just sort of honestly get rid of them and just say, hey, here you go, fine, here's your payback, here's a little scrap of land in the middle of nowhere, gave them this little patch of land, only for the Native Americans to then discover that they were sitting on top of one of the biggest oil vats in America. That's which incredible. Made them per capita the richest people in America.
Right.
Which is incredible. And then all of a sudden, they started being killed.
Yeah, people start dying off, right?
Yeah, people start being killed, and it's a pretty incredible story. What I read the book.
You did read it? Cool.
Yeah, and it's a pretty wild. Honestly, when you tell me it's a 3.5 hour film, I go, yeah, that checks out. It's got a supporting cast of Jesse Plemons, who I truly think is one of our great underappreciated actors working today, and Brendan Fraser.
Is Plemons the FBI guy who has to go undercover into the Osage?
No, he just shows up as an FBI guy.
Or does DiCaprio undercover? I thought somebody's undercover.
You're thinking of The Departed.
DiCaprio does not play a great guy. Yeah, DiCaprio and De Niro are not good people.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, I kind of want to go into this not knowing. I want to go into it not knowing as much as I can. So
the oil reminds me of There Will Be Blood a bit, just because of the way it's shot.
Yeah,
sure. And just from a visual perspective, like when I saw the trailer, I thought about that a little bit.
It reminds me also of, I was really excited. Obviously, I'm biased because I live in Chicago. I was really excited about the prospect of Martin Scorsese and DiCaprio doing Devil in the White City, which if you've never read that book is
with Tom Hanks. Weren't they going to do it with Hanks or no?
Well, it would kind of made sense because you have to have, everyone always talks about who's going to play the serial killer, but you have to have you have to say who's going to play the architect as well, because you can't have the serial killer without the architect. And it would have been really cool to have Hanks play the architect and DiCaprio play the serial killer. Anyway, it was going to be turned into a Hulu series, and Keanu Reeves was involved with that, and it all kind of fell apart.
Two can.
Oh, Jesus Christ! And so this feels like
you can feel the writer's strike from here. Just bad ideas all around.
I've been off for a week.
True. I have to say, I know Gabe was joking about earlier. I missed the jokes in the show sometimes. This has been one of those. This has been one of those
today.
You'll appreciate it. This just sometimes I pick up a book and things fall out of it. But you'll appreciate this. This is the business card of my favorite.
That's awesome.
The great Alex Ross, which is like look at the thickness. Again, I keep talking about how thick things are.
It's a gay thick. It's a gay thick. Yeah, that's a great card. Sorry, Patrick Bateman. I'll admire his card later. That's good. All right. October 20th, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's an Apple TV Plus production, but it's getting a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask that is Paramount or A24 the theatrical distribution? I feel like there's two distributions. I think there's Apple for the streaming, but I think there is a major studio.
Sony has Napoleon. I think
Paramount.
I think Paramount.
The real question is, who do we have to talk to get him on the show?
Yeah,
yeah.
Let me take a look. Paramount is the domestic distributor.
Paramount,
and this is a really interesting case because I think this is an Apple film. I think it is an Apple film, and I don't know how I'm very interested to know how Apple and Paramount came to a deal with the idea that Paramount. Yeah, but it's kind of interesting, right? Because have we seen this happen before?
This is going to have to be the future, because the streamers don't have their own sets of theaters, and because the main theatrical chains don't want to play nice with them. Yeah. The streamers who want to get their movies into theaters are going to have to partner with some type of established studio.
Or have you heard that this is a tangent that we can't go on? And I actually don't know enough to explain this, but I'm curious if you guys
are familiar. Gabe brings it up.
Well, no, I mean, but to your point, I'll have you also, because this is more of like a business and tech industry sort of thing. Rumors or ideas floating around that Bob Iger is trying to position Disney.
I heard about this. I read about that
by Apple.
That's insane.
Wait, say it again. I missed it.
Yeah. So the idea is that Bob Iger is currently trying to position Disney, position Disney so that they could be bought by Apple. So that Apple would just, instead of trying to get into the sports business and and they've done well, I think, in the TV, certainly. The business with just trillions of dollars in cash would just go, we're just going to buy Disney and then we'll have the Hollywood industry.
Because the government would not allow that purchase as it is now. It's just too massive. Yeah. And so everyone said, well, obviously that's not the case because there's no way that Apple would be allowed to buy Disney and its TV entities and all that sort of stuff. And then next thing you know, all of a sudden you hear rumors that Bob Iger is considering selling off the TV affiliates and this aspect of Disney. And so the rumor is that he is slimming down Disney to put it into a position where the government could not block Apple from coming in to buy it.
I think that it's more likely that they buy ESPN though. Like I could see it turning into like Disney maybe just sells off the sports because Apple's into, they have the MLS rights now. And I think they understand the value of like live sports. I could see that more likely, but yeah. Anyway.
Why on earth would Disney want to sell? This doesn't make any sense. To me. Just for an influx of cash, they need cash. Right
now, executives are making a lot of decisions that don't make any sense.
Yeah,
so
I mean, with Flower Moon though, and again, can you guys think of another example where a streamer has linked with a major studio for a theatrical release?
Isn't that what Apple has done? Isn't that what did Apple do that already with?
I don't know, Emancipation maybe, or I don't think Finch had a theatrical release. I mean, this is kind of fascinating to me because when Netflix puts their movies in theaters, they release in their own window through Netflix, right? And then
they don't use a partner.
Right. I've never, ever heard of this unless I'm crazy.
But Scorsese has had a relationship with Paramount for years now. So it may have been like something, because I mean, like Wolf of Wall Street was Paramount. Hugo was Paramount. Silence was Paramount. So it might be a situation where Scorsese says, look, I got a good relationship with these people. Let's, I kind of want to work with them.
You're right. I bet you, to Jake's point, I bet you Scorsese went to them with initially. This was probably like figured out before the movie was even made. Like I want theatrical and I want streaming. And
so Sharper they did it with A24, which I don't know if that's. I think that's a little different because I think they might have bought Sharper versus I think to your.
But then again, when it comes to who, this is all inside baseball in terms of like, because I don't know about you guys, a lot of times whenever I see a trailer for a movie and it's one that I know I want to do interviews for, my first thought is who's the studio behind that. And when it's multiple studios, my first thought is, okay, well then who are the people that I talk to? Yeah. When it comes to Sharper, we dealt with Apple.
I think the difference is
studio
to answer your question though, Kev, to answer your question, I think the reason why you're seeing something different with Apple is because Apple is a tech company entering the entertainment space. Netflix is an entertainment company trying to compete with studios. So Apple has so much cash that they can afford to go, hey, we're going to buy up, this technology or these smaller sort of production companies maybe, but they can go to a big player and say, hey, can we treat this more as a distributor production company relationship? And I think for them early on, that just seems to be the easiest way to get their sort of foot in the door of theatrical exhibition.
That's fascinating, Jake. I'm actually genuinely curious now if the strike does come to an end and that junket comes around, do we get it from Apple or do we get it from Paramount?
Yeah, I think it would be Apple, because I had a conversation with someone at Apple about Flower Moon the other day, and they spoke about it as if it were their movie.
Guys, let me tell you, the listeners really don't care.
I actually find, I think this is interesting to me, just in terms of like where we are in the industry. But
all right, November 3rd, Denis Villeneuve returns with the continuation, not the conclusion. We think he's going to do a trilogy, right?
Messiah. Yeah, I think it's got to be a trilogy.
Dune Messiah, Dune Part II. Again, missed opportunity not to call it Tune.
Come
on,
that's right there. That's Hans tour. That's what he's calling it. The central question, though, I think everyone knows we're excited about this. As far as
it just got the preview. Hans Zimmer joke. It just took me a second.
I think the central question is: do you guys think it stays?
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
it's too late now, right?
You want to know why? It has from what I understand, doesn't it have a 6-week IMAX window or something like that? Like, isn't there some kind of extraordinary number of weeks?
Does the Marvels not have IMAX?
I don't think it does. I think based on the release date of, and definitely double check this, but I read a story the other day that because of when it's coming out, it could potentially have 6 weeks of IMAX.
Here's why I was going to say, here's why I don't think it moves too. I don't think that movie really needs the cast to promote it. I think people are going to come because they either are super excited for the first one or the trailers are selling it, or Denis could get out ahead of it and talk. Like when they moved Challengers, they had to move Challengers because they didn't have Zendaya. And that made sense for that movie. But I think, like, let's say the strike is still happening and you don't have Zendaya to promote Dune 2. I think Dune 2 is going to be fine. I think Dune 2 is still going to do really well. Jake, you're looking at me skeptically. Do you not agree with that?
But the first Dune press tour was very reliant on the viral social media aspect of those premieres. Like, if you think about like the way Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet jumped onto carpets in their outfits, those pictures went viral. It was the most brilliant marketing. It was so brilliant. And I think that's the only thing that I would be worried about is Dune 1 made so much money while also being released on HBO Max on the same day during a pandemic and still made enough money to continue to do 2.
But now you don't have to educate the audience on what Dune is.
I would say, okay, I'm going to push back on that because sometimes I think audiences have the potential to have a short memory span. I remember when, and I get it, this is sort of different, but when the Planet of the Apes movies were coming out and they were always getting better and they were always fantastic. I'll never forget someone at Fox telling me, for as good as these movies are, one of the biggest uphill battles we have is that we have to constantly remind people of how much they liked it last time.
Yeah.
Because when the new one comes out, everyone tends to sort of shrug and go, oh, another Planet of the Apes. And then you all go, okay, but you all collectively lost your shit 3 years ago when the last one came out. I feel like there's got to be a degree of reminding people just how good Dune Part 1 was. And the best way to do that is Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet on a late night talk show. With all due respect to the man at whose feet we bow down to, Denis is not going to move the needle on a late night talk show in terms of getting people to remember just how much they loved.
Or even that generation of moviegoer that watches them as celebrities, like those two in particular, like the red carpet coverage of that,
and especially because like this is way more going to be Zendaya's movie. Like one of the biggest sort of jokes / complaints last time around is that she did so much press and wasn't in the movie that much. She is all over this movie. Like now she can definitely take the forefront. And I could even see, because Chalamet is going to have Wonka come out a month later from the same studio, I could see Chalamet even taking a little bit of a step back and letting Zendaya sort of take the lead when it comes to promotion.
Let Austin Butler step in off his Elvis success.
Dude,
a photo of Austin Butler.
I want Walken. Walken needs to do the press tour.
Imagine Austin Butler, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya walking onto a carpet.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. That photo, all 4 of them, viral.
That'd be incredible.
Instant. Yeah.
All right, November 10th. Listen, I'm in the bag for everything Marvel. I'm still excited for the Marvels.
It's the most I've been excited in a while.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Because of Nia DaCosta or?
Of Nia, of course. I feel like Brie Larson didn't get a fair shake in anything she's done yet. She didn't have a lot to do in the team up movies, and I think the first Captain Marvel was bad, not because of her necessarily, but also Miss Marvel I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed WandaVision. So like all of that coming together on top of what I've seen from the trailers has me excited about getting something that feels a little fresh, feels fun.
Boys, you both seem kind of moderately checked out on Marvel stuff. Are you?
No, I'm not checked out. I was actually confirming that. I just sent you guys a text in the thread. So it looks like, in fact, Marvels will not have an IMAX release, which is very interesting. And I think so. From what I can see online is that unless like Dune somehow moves, obviously, but that is pretty fascinating. I can't remember.
So it must be that Dune has an exclusive deal with IMAX,
right?
And Marvel didn't get one.
What's the last Marvel film that didn't have an IMAX release?
I don't know.
Couldn't tell you. We'll have to do research on that and come back later.
That's a big deal. Those are premium prices.
I think Guardians did extremely well in IMAX. So
yeah.
All right, and then November 10th. That's November 10th, and in addition, November 10th is David Fincher's The Killer. So
does this have a theatrical? Sorry, does this have any plans to go?
Yes,
it does. Okay.
Actually, no. Hold on. I'm thinking of Maestro.
While you effort that, I'm going to talk about the fact that I'm going to Toronto this year, and the Toronto slate got its ass kicked by the Venice slate. Venice has so many cool movies coming to it, including The Killer, and Maestro, which we're going to talk about in a second. Toronto has nothing, and I wish they would just at least throw Fincher over to Toronto, please, for the love of God. That's why I'm traveling up there. Michael Fassbender. It's Fincher doing serial killers again. I mean, what more do you need to hear, for God's sakes?
From what I can see, I don't think The Killer is getting a theatrical release unless Netflix.
Kidding. Well, did Mank?
No, Mank may. So what Netflix will probably do, and I don't know if they're doing this yet, is give you like a 1 or 2 week window, but it won't be a big like it won't be Flower, kind of. It won't be Flower Moon related. Like
we could also. I mean, to your point, to what you're saying right now, Sean, Venice is coming up. So I think they could also be saying, let's wait and see what the reaction is out of Venice. If the reaction out of Venice is everyone has to see this movie, I mean, why not? Why not figure out where to put it?
I thought that there was like some early buzz from some respected filmmakers. And of course, now I can't remember who it is that said that they saw it and it was like Fincher's best or something like that.
Fincher's best.
Fincher going back to serial killers is I'm all here for it.
Yeah. All right, here's a question. Yeah. What's the better Fincher movie, Zodiac or Social Network?
Oh,
Zodiac is a better movie. Social Network, I'd rather watch.
Oh, really?
I think Zodiac is the better. I think
I would say it the other way around.
I love Zodiac. I love watching Zodiac.
I love Social Network. Social Network is like.
Yeah, that's just a weird question. I'm glad I don't ever have to ask that.
Why is that a weird question? They're both Fincher movies.
Makes me uncomfortable trying to answer it.
Actually, the better question is Zodiac or Seven.
See, Zodiac is better. I would rather watch Seven.
But yeah, Zodiac.
I think one of the most unsettling scenes I've ever seen in my life is the Zodiac killer approaching the couple on the beach.
Yeah.
I think that is like in the broad daylight. I think like, Jesus Christ.
That's like the first 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. There's still plenty of movie to go.
That might be his best movie.
I think it is too. But every time I see Social Network, I'm reminded of how incredible
the final scene when, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to ruin it for people.
November 17th is Thanksgiving. Eli Roth is making a feature-length film based on the trailer from his Grindhouse exercise. What were the other ones? There was Edgar Wright did Don't.
Yeah.
Werewolves of the SS. Werewolves of the SS. Rob Zombie.
Who directed that?
Rob Zombie.
Zombie did.
Werewolves of the SS.
Wasn't Nick Cage in that trailer?
I think so.
I don't remember.
Jake and I, we talk about this sometimes. Like there was nothing better than going to that full double feature.
So great. Because, oh my God. And I was dating a girl at the time. I don't know how old were we when that movie came out, like 18, 19 when that movie came out. And oh my God, she hated it so much. And she could not understand why I was laughing as hard as I did at the Thanksgiving trailer. Because I lost my shit. I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And she legitimately had one of those, like, I don't know if I can date someone who finds that to be funny. We broke up, but that wasn't why. But yeah, I mean,
I was so bummed when they split that up too, because they eventually did release it on a double feature, but
I think I have the Blu-ray of it all together.
I rewatched Planet Terror for the Bruce Willis book. It's so rad. It's just so gory and incredible.
Dude, it is such a brutal film, and then you jump to those 3 trailers. I can't believe he's making a Thanksgiving film.
Rose McGowan had a assault rifle
on her leg,
jumped into her stump.
Isn't Josh Brolin in that?
Brolin's in it. Yeah, he's a doctor.
I'm more of a Death Proof guy.
Oh, I love Death Proof. I think Death Proof is. Well, it's not one of Tarantino's best, but I love it.
When Death Proof works, it really works.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
But there's just a lot of it that doesn't work.
Who's the stunt woman? Zoe
Bell.
Zoe Bell. I mean, her work in that film is incredible. I think she's going to die. I actually think I'm watching it that she's going to fall off that car.
She was Uma Thurman's stunt double in Kill Bill.
She was. Yeah. Which one?
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Right. November 22nd. Sir Ridley Scott, friend of the show, is teaming with the other friend of the show, Joaquin Phoenix, for Napoleon, which looks like it's going to be tremendous.
Can we get them paired?
Oh my God.
ReelBlend reunion.
I think if we got them paired, you guys wouldn't say a word. I think it would just be Ridley saying something and Joaquin responding.
So Ridley said in an interview that he decided to cast Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon after seeing him in Joker. And then the person commented underneath and they were like, does he forget Gladiator?
Did he forget what?
Gladiator? Because Joaquin's in Gladiator.
I think that more speaks to maybe what he does in Joker, I guess, is what he's implying. Yeah,
I'm sure. I think this one looks classic, war heavy historical drama.
Are you not excited for this, Jake?
I think I'm excited for it I'm excited for it on paper. Like on paper, it is Ridley Scott reteaming with Joaquin for a big epic. But based on the trailer, to me, it seems a little bit more Robin Hood and a little less Gladiator. And the story came out recently that Ridley Scott said that Joaquin Phoenix came to him 2 weeks before they started filming and said, I don't know what to do with this character. So they had to sit down and kind of map it all out. And I kind of feel like I see that in I don't feel like I'm seeing anything in his, granted, we're talking about a 2.5 minute preview of what is going to be a 3-hour film, but I feel like I'm not really seeing anything.
In a story that sells a headline, not to undercut your point.
I mean, it's one of those things that look, I will be first in line. I'm there to see it, but the trailer didn't move the needle for me at all.
Interesting.
Did it for you guys? Yeah, did you guys watch that trailer and go, "Oh my God, that looks great"?
I'm kind of with Jake. I think I'm more excited that it's a Ridley Scott movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. The trailer didn't have anything. It's you're right though. It's right when it starts, I'm already I'm going to see this regardless. Yeah. But nothing in that trailer. I mean, it's a good trailer. Don't get me wrong. It just nothing in there was oh my God, this is going to be I mean, but I'm sure. Ridley pumps movies out what does he do, 2 a year sometimes? I don't know how that guy is working that fast.
I think Ridley's 85 too.
It's unbelievable.
I believe he's 84 or 85 years old now at this point. The bit that ends the trailer, which is the cannonballs on the ice as the army's on the ice, they showed that longer sequence at CinemaCon and it was it was really incredible.
Doesn't look too CG heavy when you saw it.
Not at all. No, it looks like he killed several men and horses in the process of filming it. All right, November 22nd as well is a trailer that we saw just today while we were recording on Tuesday, which is Maestro, Bradley Cooper's follow-up to A Star Is Born, which stars him and Carey Mulligan as Leonard Bernstein and his longtime lover, Felicia, I'm blanking on her last name. Montalegre. I probably mispronounced that. I didn't see Bradley Cooper in this role yet. I didn't see any shots from the production or anything and was stunned at how different he looks. I mean, I'm not saying he's unrecognizable. You can definitely see it's Bradley Cooper. But he takes on a different persona in order to play Leonard Bernstein. The trailer, when you say the trailer didn't do much for you for Napoleon, this trailer didn't do much for me. It looks intriguing. I mean, I'm definitely interested in seeing what Bradley Cooper does next. I love Carey Mulligan. I think she's fantastic. I'm sure the movie's going to be better than the marketing for it. But right now, the marketing seems intentionally vague.
It looks like the trailer for a movie by a guy who's lost 13 Academy Awards and is tired of losing and really wants to win an Academy Award.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. December 15th is a film that I'm going to try my best not to have to see. And it's called Wonka. I have zero interest in the Wonka movie. And I love Paul King's Paddington films. I think that they are, listen, I'm the one who came on this show and told you all the Paddington 2 is one of the best movies that is going to come out that year. It was remarkable. The marketing for Wonka so far is not working for me. I don't need to see a prequel to figure out why Willy Wonka loves chocolate. And I'll tell you what's really strange. I was up in New York visiting family and was in a situation where I'm surrounded by a lot of people in my family who do not go to the movies whatsoever, and got a number of questions about Barbie and Oppenheimer. And then two separate family members at two different times said to me, you know, a movie I can't wait to see this year? Wonka. And I was like, really? Wonka. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll charm the socks off of everybody. But
I just don't feel like Timothée Chalamet understands how to play that. I think Timothée Chalamet is a great actor. I just don't think he has the whimsy within him to play. I don't know. There were just so many line readings in that trailer where I just sort of thought, like, look, I'm an actor. What the hell do I mean, I'm not an actor. So what do I know? But there were moments where I just thought, like, that's how you chose to say that? Like, that was the best take of that line delivery.
Well, sort of counter that, I don't think whimsy is the way to do Willy Wonka. Like,
well, that's the thing. Sorry, that's the thing. He's not Gene Wilder. Like, Gene Wilder could be whimsical and dark and mysterious.
Yeah.
And I think what Jake is pointing at, Timothée Chalamet is really good at being dark and mysterious. But not in this way, like not in the Gene Wilder, like kind of creepy. You don't know what the subtext is.
I thought Depp did okay.
Yeah. I liked Depp's Wonka. If I'm gonna be honest with you,
I liked it too.
It just feels miscast to me, and I like Timothée Chalamet a lot. I think he's a great actor, but it just doesn't. To me, it feels like it's. Is this officially a prequel to Willy Wonka, or are they doing their own thing? Because it feels very much inspired by whatever is to come with Wonka later in his life. Like, this is him younger. To me, it feels like they're pulling this from that original film. I thought it was
supposed to lead into the Gene Wilder one, but I'm not.
I just don't get this. I just don't get the feel of that Wonka from what they're.
I think it's a prequel to Bones and All.
Oh, great. Excellent.
This is where you find out what the secret ingredient to his chocolate is.
Flesh.
This is what he used to eat.
If Mark Rylance was playing the Oompa Loompa, then I'd be on board.
Dude, I still have nightmares about Mark Rylance and those tidy whities. I still have nightmares about that.
All right, December 20th. Theoretically, the last dash of the DCEU, James Wan's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, a film that I would be moderately excited for, if not for the number of reports of multiple test screenings, negative reactions to it, reshoots, lots of refilming. Where does it even fit in any kind of universe? Can it just be its own standalone, interesting thing? I'll stand by the fact that I really do love James Wan. I think he's a terrific filmmaker. I prefer him to go out and do things like Malignant, and sort of flex his horror muscles.
So good.
It's incredible. He's
awesome.
An extremely talented director. We can't overlook the fact that the first Aquaman made $1 billion. So clearly people responded to it, because DC movies don't do that all the time. What do you guys want?
You can thank Mr. Worldwide for that.
It exists.
yes, you can, Mr. Worldwide.
When we first started this show, like, our text thread was basically Pitbull pictures for like the first year or so, and because the guys were all about. You guys liked Aquaman more than I did, and I couldn't get over that Pitbull Toto Africa cover. He's coming out of the water. I just couldn't do it. If I'm James Wan, Pitbull has to be in this again.
Oh yeah, without question.
I mean, at this point, you got to commit. You got to
commit to the bit,
or capit.
We got to wrap this episode up. Gabe, do something,
No, you
man.
missed it. Commit to the pit.
To the pit.
Commit to the pit.
There it is.
It was right there.
I'm sorry. You gotta get me there. Get me there.
December 22nd, Zack Snyder is heading over to science fiction with Rebel Moon, ironically, 2 days after the DC feature comes into play. From what I understand, Netflix is poised to soon, I think, announce that Part 2 is going to be coming. It'll be Rebel Moon Part 2. And Netflix is figuring out a way, I think, to get theatrical distribution for this. I don't know if I can confirm that just yet, but they're working on it.
I think they will. I mean, especially if, I feel like
Army of the Dead got it.
I feel, I think especially the scale of this movie and the budget, and it sounds like, just based on what I've heard from sources that might be named Sean, that I've heard, it just sounds like it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited about this one. When can you talk more about your connections?
My embargo is going to lift at the end of August, in which case I'll be able to share. I can tell you, I went to the set. I got to go to the set for this, and
you can say it. Okay. Yeah.
And I'll be able to share in greater detail all the things that I saw while I was there. I think it's August 25th. They told us weekend, after Empire and after EW and after Vanity Fair and after everyone else ran all the content that they got, we will be able to report on our legitimately. Eric Eisenberg today went to a theater in Los Angeles to see like 3 scenes from the film, and then Zach spoke afterwards. So that's cool. Anything that I saw is probably going to be out there.
I just what has me excited about this is that Zack Snyder is excited about building a universe.
Yeah, that's what sells me.
Like, I'm in, because I love his take on the superhero genre in DC films. I love what he did with 300. I love what he did with the zombie genre. Like, I like his take on these sort of larger ideas. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that this is, more or less his take on the Star Wars idea, I couldn't be more excited to see that version.
Sean, just release your stuff early, and then if they get mad at you, just email Netflix and say, I was just doing a marketing thing and being a rebel.
There you go. Or I released the Snyder coverage.
Yes.
Gabe.
Thank you.
Sean, we have 2 more left. You think we can get these in before they pull our feeds from?
Oh my God!
All right, on December 25th, George Clooney has a film called The Boys in the Boat, which is a remake of The Perfect Storm. No, I'm kidding. It's not a remake of The Perfect Storm. It is set in the 1930s. The story is centered on the University of Washington's rowing team from their Depression-era beginnings to the winning gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Clooney, from what I understand, is going to be directing it, but will not be starring in it.
But we haven't really seen anything from this, is I think the big thing. This one is like, we know almost nothing about beyond everything you just said.
Clooney's a great director.
That's why I included it on this list, is I feel like when Clooney steps up as a director, it's like, okay, I want to go see that.
Even movies that like didn't get acclaim compared to something like Good Night and Good Luck. I mean, I loved Ides of March.
Eyes of March is awesome.
Yeah. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Confessions. Yeah.
Yep. He's a true.
I didn't love Midnight Sky.
Yeah.
I liked it more than I thought I was going to, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, though, that's one of my favorite. Like, Sam Rockwell's so damn good in that. Like, it's like Tender Bar wasn't bad either. I love Tender Bar. I like Tender Bar was pretty good. It's funny. I forget that he even directed that.
Yeah.
It feels like Affleck directed it.
Well, because remember, Clooney couldn't make the press rounds because he was shooting Ticket to Paradise.
That's right.
That's right.
I remember at the junket they said like he's filming something in Australia with Julia Roberts, which ended up being Ticket to Paradise.
Did they greenlight 2 Tickets to Paradise yet? There we go.
Ticket to Paradise.
Yeah.
I mean, it made a lot of money.
It did make a ton of money, yeah.
I mean, I don't know
tickets to paradise.
I had to say it I had to say it just to release the valve on Kevin.
It really does. That feels like a layup, a sequel to that movie. Like you just get those two back together doing anything. It doesn't
you
really
license
matter
the
what
song,
it is.
and then you
2 Tickets to Paradise. God, it writes itself.
I mean, this is some AI stuff right now. This is what we're getting into. This is what AI is going to be.
Okay. Ticket to Paradise. The plot is they go on vacation with another couple friends of theirs that have broken up years ago, but their secret plan is to get them back together. The couple is Brad Pitt and who?
Angelina Jolie.
Sean.
Jennifer Aniston.
You wouldn't go see that?
Jennifer Aniston.
You'd watch that in a heartbeat.
If the plot was we're trying to get Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston back together, they're playing characters. That's $1 billion movie. If it's George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and the plot is Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston are playing characters they're trying to get back together, it's $1 billion movie.
That's pretty great.
Universal, call me after you pay your writers.
Because Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston,
they're cool. Remember they did that like live reading and stuff, and they were on sort of the awards circuit at the same time.
They're gonna mess it up and put Anne Hathaway in it thoe. Like you'll get some. Anne
Hathaway messes up nothing. Sean O'Connell.
Yeah, I love Anne Hathaway. I don't agree with Sean's negativity, but no, I agree. I think genuinely, I know we're
Take it to paradise.
We're doing a lot of jokes today, but that's a $1 billion
idea.
Jennifer Aniston, Brad Pitt. Could you imagine those?
And
four?
they trick each of them saying like, "Hey, meet us in Bora Bora."
You guys are describing Murder Mystery 2. That's essentially what happened in that movie.
I didn't say no one ends up dead, Sean.
All right, last movie for the fall movie preview is Michael Mann's Ferrari, which stars Adam Driver. Ironically, I
That's it. I never put that together. That's it.
I'm not saying anything else.
End the show now.
That's it.
We're done.
Sean, you want to know the most ironic part? He's playing Enzo Ferrari, who didn't drive the car. He built the car.
That's a shame. What a crime. Adam Driver.
Oh my God.
That's terrific. This was a great episode. All right, let's start wrapping it up.
Thank God.
Yeah. As a call to action. I know Gabe doesn't like when I call it a call to action.
Well,
sorry, I know. Head to the comments of the YouTube video. And if you're listening to this on your audio platforms, take some time out of your day to go over to youtube.com/ReelBlend Podcast and tell us what is your most anticipated movie for the remainder of 2023. It could be something on the list that we just read. It could be something that's flying under the radar or maybe heading to film festivals this fall. Let us know which movie, if you could only see one between now and the end of the year, that you would like to go see. In the meantime, follow us on social media. Jake is at Jake's Takes. Kevin is at Kevin McCarthy TV. I am at Sean_O'Connell. Gabe's at Gabe Kovac. And the show itself is at ReelBlend. We'll be back next week with another fascinating interview and a few more fun discussions and bad puns. The puns are coming back, Kev.
They're back, baby.
And I got to tell you, next week's interview, you're going to want to stay till the end because Sean said something to a filmmaker that you will never dream that you would ever hear a journalist say to a filmmaker in your life.
Mildly unprofessional.
Like it's really, really
funny.
But
in context, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I want you to say it to Sir Ridley Scott when we get him on the show.
He would love it.
Yeah,
just so you know, I'm just going to tweet a clip of him saying what he says and then you saying what you say and nothing else involved.
All right. That's a tease. Talk to you guys next week.
That would be a very bad thing.
Pay your artists.
All right. Commit to the pit.
Pay your artists, yes.
Pay your artists. God damn it.
Commit to the pit.